and gentlemen, you're watching ET Now, and of course this is News Now, and let's start the show with a big news break that's just coming in. Well, Tata Sons may have to prepare for listing its shares for the Reserve Bank of India's deadline of September 2025. Sources are telling ET Now that RBI has turned down a proposal of Tata Sons to avoid a listing. The RBI had guided that Tata Sons must adhere to the upper layer NBFC norms. My colleague Anurag Joshi is live with us, getting us more inputs on this big story that's just breaking right here on ET Now. Anurag, tell us the way forward and what is Tata Sons saying?
The Reserve Bank of India has turned down a proposal from Tata Sons to seek an exemption from listing its equity shares by September 2025. Now, last year, the RBI, Tata Sons had moved a proposal to the central bank seeking the special dispensation, and the RBI has said that they are not going to give any special dispensation to Tata Sons, and Tata Sons will need to list their shares by September 2025. To give you a little background about this, in September 2022, RBI had come out with a circular where they had named 15 non-banking financial companies, and also these also included the core investment company under which the Tata Sons falls, and they had a 3-year time frame, which is up to September 2025, to list their shares. So Tata Sons had been pitching that they wanted to avoid a listing, and in this regard, Tata Sons has become mostly debt free by repaying over 20,000 crore of debt, and they had been looking to get a waiver from the RBI, and RBI has not allowed Tata Sons, and Tata Sons will need to list their shares by next year.
Anurag, we'll definitely be watching out for more details on this story. So no relief really coming in so far as the postponement of this listing is concerned. And of course, joining us now on this broadcast is also Ankur Mishra. Ankur, so on 19th April, ET Now had reported that Tata Sons submitted a proposal to RBI for averting the listing. And now sources are saying that RBI is not in favor of providing any dispensation. Tell us what was there in the proposal submitted to RBI, and what's the way forward for the company? Because the potential listing of Tata Sons definitely has significant implications for not just the holding company, but the overall Tata Group ecosystem.
Yes, definitely. So the proposal which was submitted by Tata Group, and many times we would have seen that Reserve Bank of India and companies have discussions, and in this particular case on 19th of April, ET Now had reported that a proposal has been submitted to Reserve Bank of India to get a waiver, to get a dispensation that they do not want to seek the route of listing by September 2025, which was mandated as per the norms of upper layer NBFC core investment company. Now this these norms came 3 years back, and there was a mandate that a listing should happen within 3 years because Tata Sons falls under core investment company norms. Now this company, Tata Sons, already has 97% stake in Tata Capital. So one of the proposal also mentioned that the listing of Tata Sons can be averted if at all the holding of equities in Tata Capital can be transferred somewhere else. So all these proposals were submitted to Reserve Bank of India as per sources, but for now we have understood that that has been turned down. Now what is the way forward? Definitely it may or may not be the end of road or mandatory listing for Tata Sons, because Tata Sons will definitely look for other options, may engage with Reserve Bank of India once again. We will discuss about it in detail because we are joined by Sriram Subramaniam from InGovern to discuss about this. Mr. Subramaniam, welcome to the show. My first question to you is, now that we understand that Reserve Bank of India has said no to the proposal of averting the listing, how do you think the group can move forward?
Good afternoon. Firstly, as you rightly said, one is Tata Sons would obviously want to avoid listing. They have recently just repaid back debt of 20,000 crores. that they had borrowed from the market. So to that extent, they're near debt free. Two is they will try to engage with RBI again to see whether they can avert this listing. And three is if RBI doesn't relent, I'm sure this will end up in courts. So I would think that Tata Sons will definitely take it to courts. It's happened in the past where Kotak has taken RBI to courts. So from that perspective, I would think this will also end up in courts if RBI doesn't relent.
Mr. Subramaniam, there was speculation that Tata Sons may transfer its holdings of Tata Capital to another entity. And there was also a proposal that Tata Sons can reduce its holding in Tata Capital. They're right now owning 97% equity there to below 50%. Do you think those becomes feasible? They become, criteria for them to get a waiver from the norms?
I would think so. Obviously, if RBI is pleased with those steps, then Tata Sons would look towards, I would say, operationalizing those steps. One is to understand what is RBI's specific concerns on why Tata Sons should be listed. What is the reason when Tata Sons has no debt whatsoever, has only a close number of shareholders, which is less than 20. So what is the specific concern of RBI? So from that perspective, if it means that selling out Tata Capital or doing some transactions with respect to Tata Capital, probably if that pleases RBI, definitely Tata Sons would consider those steps.
Tata Sons as a core investment company, and also they have, in the last financial year, they have become debt-free. They have mostly repaid their borrowings. In your view, are they sufficient criteria for them to, get an exemption, to be treated specially in this case and, not going ahead to do an IPO?
I would think so, because at the end of the day, it's a closed set of shareholders. It's it's not taken third-party debt or shareholder. It is not seeking to get other third-party shareholders. So from that perspective, it's not truly an NBFC in that sense of it is not having any debt from outside third parties. Two is as a investment company, it's more of an investment vehicle and sort of a, though it has turned public and became later a private limited company. So from that perspective, I would think it deserves this exemption. Because there is no compulsion for Tata Sons to get to raise funds or to get additional shareholders.
Right. You mentioned the right point, but you would have seen recently on ET Now that we also reported that Mr. Noel Tata is now on the board of Tata Sons. Now he has joined, and now he also has the task of solving this issue, whether or not to speak to Reserve Bank of India or go for listing. How do you think Tata Sons has options right now on the table? Which options are there?
No, as you rightly said, I don't think the direction of Tata Sons will change just because Noel Tata has come on the board of Tata Sons itself. Chandrasekharan has been there as chairman. The board has eminent personalities who have their own independent thinking. So from that perspective, I think the options around it will not change just because Noel Tata has come on the board. So I don't think Tata Sons would like to list at all. I mean, given the fact that it doesn't need the capital and it is not entertaining of third-party shareholders.
Right. A few of the things which we have understood through sources that Reserve Bank of India is very firm on the fact that whatever norms are there for core investment companies, that should be followed in the entirety. It is not only for Tata Sons, but for all the companies. As a regulator, they want it to be implemented. Now, I want to understand here, one of the norms says that even if the company changes in some form in terms of norms, in terms of holding, but the rules needs to be implemented for 5 years if you are a core investment company. Now Tata Sons is definitely classified as core investment company. I want to understand that from a corporate governance point of view, how important it is there for stakeholders and shareholders now that Reserve Bank of India has said no for listing.
So that's what, as I said, there will obviously be exceptions that Reserve Bank would could decide on, and I would think Tata Sons will work towards those steps that will satisfy the RBI. So I don't think there is a need for Tata Sons to list. Two is from a corporate governance perspective. I think because it has a set number of shareholders, the only shareholder probably seeking listing is the Shapoorji Pallonji Group, which will get liquidity if the shares of Tata Sons is listed. So they would be probably the only shareholder that will sort of be happy with a listing of Tata Sons.
Right.
There comes a time when your heart calls for you to arise. Plant your feet solid into the ground. Decide your own limits. And then break right through them. Become something more. It's my time to rise.